nice one. Right then. Okay, first video. It's quite weird at the moment. I've got like 15 Thai people, probably more, just staring at me, wondering what the bloody hell I'm doing. So this is the first one without a PlayStation. It's an interesting subject, this one. It's probably something that I still really struggle with, which is why I probably felt like I could drop the PlayStation just for this one. The title's called Walking with People Walking on Eggshells Around Me, and it's something that I probably felt ever since 2012 really. I think this symptom, like that feeling, is probably the silent killer, the real silent assassin within PTSD symptoms. I think we pay so much attention to our nightmares and our flashbacks, and we give them all the thought, and we think they're the most terrible parts, but really it's the everyday struggle of dealing with feeling like a coiled spring or feeling like you're completely depressed. I know loads of other people suffer from it. All traumatic experiences are the same, but not all traumatic experiences are the same, but all symptoms tend to be the same, you know, which is why I'm okay to talk about this, even though it still affects me every day. It's a consistent battle, you know, and I know my friends struggle with it. I've spoken to my friends, and I know their misses are aware of it, you know. And when I speak to them openly on the phone about it, you can hear their girlfriends in the background having a little bit of a laugh about it, which is probably the most important thing. I did start off with a mic, but it turned on the way here, so the battery went. So we're going to give this audio a go. I hope it's okay. Okay, yeah. So as I said, I do think this is probably the one symptom that has the most detrimental effects on not only us as individuals, but our families and our general life, our well-being, our partners, our loved ones, anybody that's close to us, anybody that just generally comes into contact with us, you know. So for me, I believe the reason why people feel like they're walking on eggshells around you is because of, as a soldier, policemen experience it as well. But you have hypervigilance and hypovigilance, and you know, if you pictured a wave going like this, when you're in hypervigilance state, it's when you're feeling really agitated, you don't know what to do with yourself, you feel lost, you shaky legs, you just don't know where you're coming or going, you know. And that's, I think, you're really in a big fight or flight position there, and that's when the days when I have personally, it's my worst days for things such as like road rage. Can't sit still, don't know what I'm doing, and they can really catch me off guard these days if I get up in the morning and I'm not sure what I'm doing for the day, if I have no routine, then I can really just start pacing up and down the house, you know, and I'm not too sure what to do with myself, which is why at the end I'll come onto like things that I'm trying to do at the moment to help myself and counteract these shit days, you know. But that's when I'm like hypervigilant, and then you've got hypovigilant, which is going to be the same as like depression, when you're feeling like really emotionally isolated. You don't want to connect with people, you want avoidance rather than closeness. For me, that's probably when you feel like the biggest part of a burden comes from when you feel like this, whether it's an up day or a down day. I don't think you feel like a burden. Personally, for me, I never felt like a burden because of my nightmares. I think they were understandable. Anything I thought about in the daytime was justifiable, you know. We got put in a war zone and fucking whatever happened, you know. But when it comes to feeling like a burden, you feel like a burden because your close ones feel like they're walking on eggshells around you, and they don't know what to do. When your loved ones start managing their behaviour, you know, they feel bad, but then you feel bad also because you feel like you're then responsible for them having to manage their own behaviour and having to not be themselves, be comfortable. And this is coming from myself, who, you know, I've just had lots of relationships that have been failed because of this, or you know, maybe they were built off the wrong foundations, but they also failed mostly because of this situation, you know, was because people can't stand to be around you anymore. And the saddest part about it, I think, is like some days like I really do feel like I don't want to be around myself, and that's a terrible mindset, you know. People say love yourself, but there's a massive gap between loving yourself and giving yourself appreciation and and you know, not wanting to be around yourself just because you feel like you can't change the way you feel like you can't do anything about it. It really does feel like you're at hand some days. And I think after so many years, it feels like it becomes a part of you, for me personally, and then it becomes so hard to shake. And people can say, oh yeah, you can change anything, I just forget about it or anything like this. But some days, like, you wake up, and I wake up especially some days, even now still, and you never know how you're gonna feel, and I hate that, which is why I feel like I've only recently started trying, trying new things and trying to take this part away from me, and change parts of my life, so not just for myself but so other people can be not tipping on, like, going on their tiptoes around me. I think being in a state of hypervigilance and hypovigilance, I think this general symptom or just general feeling that we have, I think it's the one symptom personally that will grab you physically, mentally, and emotionally. Whether you're in a heightened state or a lower state, when I'm having those bad days and those low days, like, that's when you start to have like 1,000-yard stare. People say, like, are you okay? And you don't realize that you're doing it, but you're just so emotionally disconnected from everything in the world around you, and including yourself. And then you get stuck in those moments, and that's the days when it will grab hold of you physically, and then emotionally, you start having those feelings, and it's just a big snowball effect, I think, when you have these days. And when I had nightmares or anything like that, or if I'm having those kind of flashbacks, then you can think about them and you can say, yeah, that was a terrible experience, let's get rid of that. But when you wake up and you don't know why you feel the way you do, I think this is the reason why guys just can't, they have that feeling that they can't be around themselves anymore, which is why I think it's the real silent assassin of PTSD. I think this feeling is the feeling that gives you the before and after of a traumatic experience. When I think about myself just before a tour, I always think about the old Jody, or you say, like, you want the old Jody back. And you're never going to get that person back, and I think that's because there's an innocent part to that person that before war and after war, and I think there's an untouched part of the soul that's now been and seen shit and done shit that you just generally shouldn't see or do as a human. And I think we have the ability to bury that completely so deep that it doesn't, come up, but it still affects us as a person. And I think we, especially as soldiers, as men, just in general, we do that so well. And I think we can only do it for so long, though. When I say we do it well, we do so well at not telling people it, but we don't do so well at managing how we feel, how we interact with people, and our general demeanour. I think it affects us an awful lot more than it should, and I don't think we acknowledge it. I don't think we give it the time or the space to actually say, yeah, this is really affecting me and I need to do something about it. My worst days is quite a deep episode, by the way. I think I'm definitely going to tell you, be honest and tell you all the truth. So if you do feel like it's a bit much at any point, just turn it off, have a pause, and maybe come back to it, or don't come back to it. Speak to somebody. But my suicidal ideation comes from, like, these days when I think about that, and so mine's changed over the years. Like, back in when I was having nightmares and stuff, and I was thinking about all those terrible thoughts when I was on a roof, was like, that's suicidal ideation, in a sense of you're actually picturing yourself and imagining yourself really, really calling it a day, But when it comes to the bad days and the low days, it's not so much thinking about the action. You're thinking about why is it never ending? Why isn't it stopping? Why can't I change this? And you just feel tired, you feel so exhausted with something that you want to do. You don't want to do it anymore, and it's hard to stay. And that's for me saying that when I've got no children. So the idea of having children and a wife and a full family, and still being in that mindset to the extent where you just still don't want to be with yourself, it's sad, and that's why it tears me apart a little bit when I think about my friends, who do have families and stuff, and I know they're struggling because not saying that I'm any less important because I don't have children or family or anything, but I don't know, I definitely think about them a lot in those situations. I think the key thing is to acknowledge it. I think if you don't speak about it, if you just pretend like you're okay and you just walk off, or you just try and go about your day in avoidance and emotionally disconnected, I think it just eats you up even more. You can't handle it. try to push it away because you don't know what it is and you don't know what's affecting you, so you can't change it. It's not like you've got a stone in your shoe and you can take it out. You've got all this built up inside you, and it can be a complete combination of so many different things that end up causing this feeling, which is why it's so important to go, in my opinion, to go to therapy and process all those different events, all those different boxes that you have in your mental garage that may not be may not be affecting you, but maybe they've got a grasp on you in some area of your life, be it anything. For me, everywhere, so it's hard to not say anything. But if your relationship's suffering because your girlfriend doesn't feel like she wants to be around you because you're always moody, or there's always something wrong, you can never just be happy, then do something about it. Go to therapy, try and get yourself sorted. We can't just sit in these miserable, moody demeanors just because we went to war. That's not how it should be. The saying of a coiled spring comes from my platoon commander in depot. He used to say that be like a coiled spring, and it reminded me, just that saying reminded me of the men when I turned up to the battalion, like the guys in B company, how you could sense it in some of them that they were like a coiled spring, and that was their before and after tour experiences. That's them coming back from tour and being the same way that I am now, but I just didn't realise it then. I didn't put them two together, because you don't think about this being in those hypo states, but you just think about nightmares and flashbacks when you think about PTSD, which is why I think this is the real silent killer, and I think this has to be acknowledged, to be honest with you. I think that's the key way to do it. So there's levels to it as well, there's levels to feeling hypervigilant and hypovigilant. When I felt hypervigilant to my extreme was 2012, 2016, 17, 18. I've only told this to my therapist and my best friend, civilian best friend, and when I told it to my civilian best friend, it's one of those poisonous words I spoke about in the other episodes, why we don't tell people things, was because we went to a gig in Portsmouth, and it was maybe like end of 2018, and we were steaming, we'd been drinking, we was outside having a cigarette, and I told him that every time I just felt so aggressive at the time, I felt like I just like a proper coiled spring, like a hand grenade pin pulled. And I told him that when I'm in conversation with people, when I'm sober, anything, but just anybody, could be somebody I really, really loved, I just felt like being really aggressive towards them, be it like, I just literally just imagine just hitting somebody, or just like fucking going crazy, just injuring the person just through being pure aggressive. And it was terrible to experience, because you'd be talking to somebody who you love or you care about, and these thoughts are happening in your head, and you're trying to act normal and be like yeah, but inside, your heart's tearing apart, and you want to just fucking cry and just be like, stop thinking these fucking things. But it's so hard to stop, it's terrible to say those words. When I told my friend, he was like, I said it to him, and he went, fucking what? Like, he was so confused. And I probably sprung out on him just because I had alcohol in my system, but it's hard when you watch especially a civilian, If I said it to a military guy, he might have been like, yeah, sane, mate, or just, we had a conversation about it. But saying it to a civilian friend was maybe the issue, and that's why it pulls you back, because people are it's not scared to have the conversation. We don't have the conversations around these things, which is why it's so hard for us to say things, because you don't hear people say the words, which is why I'm doing this right now. I've only ever said that to 2 therapists, and that one person left my mouth those times. Other than that, this is it. And it's probably easier for me to say because I'm talking to a camera, but I know if I felt that and I thought that and I've had those experiences, and I 100% know that there's another person out there that's also felt the same, which is why I'm okay to say it, and it sounds terrible, it sounds really bad. There's probably people out there like, what the fuck, that's crazy, but I thought it, and if it helps someone else realise it, and that they're not fucking crazy and they just need to go and get some help, then that's all you need to do. And it goes from that, to then just being like feeling like you're going to explode, and maybe the bin bag breaks and you just can't take it, you fucking kick the bin out, for fuck's sake, why is it every day? And then you just walk off, that kind of thing. And then other days you get up and you just feel a little bit lost, that's all. But it's just managing it. So I think fighting can making it feel worse. If you just get up and you think that you're absolutely fine, then and you just think you can just bury it even deeper, then you're just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, and eventually you're going to explode. You know, when people say like, oh, he snapped or he broke, you know, or you're just coping. You know, we used to think about coping and say, oh yeah, I'm coping. You know, what does coping look like? You know, why do we have to go through life just coping? We shouldn't have to. We should be enjoying our life, which is what I'm trying to do now. You know, feel like I've been coping for it since I was come back from Afghanistan at 20 years old. You know, and I just don't think we should have to cope anymore. I felt like I lost all my 20s to coping, and fucking done with it. And I'm done with seeing friends on soldiers on the news for committing suicide. And you can't save everybody, and I know I can't, and then it's not me saving them. I just want to try and get guys to realise that you're not crazy, and we can get through it together. And there's ways and means, you know, therapists coming out and doing this kind of thing, getting in nature. It's just making that first step. For me, like when I was a full screw, for example, I had back pocket lessons. So if the funeral commander said you need to take a lesson or something like this, then you'd have back pocket lessons, which is exactly the way that I feel like I'm trying to deal with it now. If I got spare hours, if I've got spare time, or if I think I'm doing something in the daytime, maybe that plan will cancel. I have to have back pocket things to do, back pocket activities, whether it's going for a walk, going for a run, gym, play guitar, anything, absolutely anything. But I have to have those back pocket plans, just because if I find myself with a couple of hours spare, I find it so hard to enjoy those moments. And maybe some people will think like exposure therapy or whatever and try and, you know, sit in those moments and be okay. I do that, I've done that. But there's steps to it, you know, and at the moment I feel like I've taken a massive step back to where I used to be able to meditate for an hour, you know, and now I've taken that massive, huge step back, and it's, I don't want to spend 10 minutes on my own. And having those back pocket activities are the things that are saving me at the moment, because I'm not finding myself stuck with what to do. And when I do, I am pacing up and down the lounge, and my girlfriend calls me as I'm like a tiger in the zoo. I think when it comes to relationships, I think we need to acknowledge it vocally. I think you can't just be like, oh yeah, you're moody today. I think if your girlfriend asks you, you know, this is what I've tried recently, I know if any of my ex-girlfriends hear this, they'll probably be saying, you never fucking used to do that. But if, you know, you wake up and you feel shit, just acknowledge it, be vocal about it, tell the people and your loved ones around you that you're having a shit day, laugh about it, cry about it. At least once you've acknowledged it, it takes some of its power away. I think it takes away a slight hold that it does have on you. Maybe it won't change your day. It doesn't change my days all the time, you know, but it does allow me to be a bit more at peace and be like, I've told my loved ones or anybody that I'm seeing, you know, like if my friend texts me in the morning saying, do you want to go for lunch? If I'm having a shit day, I'll text him and say, yeah, I'll come, buddy, but just so you know, I'm not going to be the greatest company. I don't feel so great. And if they're a good friend, then they'll say, yeah, no worries, mate, come along anyway. And if they say don't worry about it, then fuck them, they're not your friend. Yeah, and that's it really for me, you know. I think you should, it's a hard one to speak about. It really does affect me. I'm still learning about it. I'm not a therapist. I'm not giving you the answers. I don't know the answers. I'm just trying to tell my darker thoughts and tell my experiences around the struggle it is each day, and not just have people think that it's all about nightmares and flashbacks. You know, it's the day-to-day getting up and putting plans into action, which is why I think the forward momentum of keep attacking, like Brian Wood's thing was like, you know, just get up and keep going, don't stop, get up and run and stuff, you know. And I think that helps us as a soldier, because that's what we used to do. That's what we used to, you know. If you get up in the morning, you go and do some PT, you're getting out of bed, you're making your bed, and you're fucking going on a run, you're doing some fizz, and that's what we used to for a long time. And even if you weren't in the military, getting up, making your bed, and going for a run is something that isn't going to hurt your routine. It's not going to hurt your mental health anyway. As long as you're not getting up at 3 AM and running, you know, 50 miles every day. It's got to be progressive and not go all in 100%. Everything step. But I hope you enjoyed the sunset. I missed it, but I'll watch the video back on speed or something and catch up. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.